howdy. This here is Hot Prospects, where we discuss how to turn your lead generation into a burning inferno. Hey, Pritesh, what's happening?
Maybe not too much. Not talking to any telemarketers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you is, do you get telemarketer calls there in the UK?
We do mostly about internet sales, phone contracts, that kind of thing. But I don't think it's as bad as you guys get it over there.
Yeah,
Ours will probably get that bad soon. We, we
yeah.
we tend to follow you guys in whatever you guys do. So
Well, it's probably
yeah.
a much larger market here, and so that's why it's
Mm.
more prevalent. Do you talk to them?
Yeah.
You actually answer
Sometimes
the
I
phone?
do. Sorry,
You answer the phone and talk to these telemarketers?
I do. Sometimes I just have some fun with them and just annoy them, just ask them really stupid questions, tell them, how much, what's the best price you can do? I can pay zero, things like that. Just have some fun with it. How about you?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what I do. You see, real estate agents actually get a really bad rap for not answering their phone. And so nowadays, when we've got the caller ID, then you can see that that's a number that you don't have programmed as one of your friends. So a lot of people like to avoid these calls. I know that the culture is starting to become I don't answer my phone, I only do text messages. Even though oftentimes a quick 20-second phone conversation, a lot more can be said and done than texting back and forth. You know, you can't hear context in a text oftentimes. You can't hear inflection and sarcasm or whatnot. Something could be lost in translation, which is why I think real estate agents should answer every phone that rings. And you should, especially if it's a telemarketer, it's a great time to practice your scripts. In fact, I was talking about this in a class one time I was teaching, and there was a phone behind me on a table, and I'm telling the agents why they should answer ringing phones. And this was in an office, and that phone doesn't ever ring. It was kind of in a conference room, or I'm sorry, like a classroom type setting, and this phone was just off to the side. And as I'm telling this, the phone starts ringing, and every student in the room says, "You got to answer it. You said answer the ringing phones." So I did, and it turns out that it was a guy who actually wanted to sell a piece of land, and I got a listing right there on the phone in front of all the agents. And it was really humorous because I said, "I'm teaching a class right now. Is it okay if I put you on speakerphone?" And the guy said, "Yeah, sure." And in about 5, 6 minutes, I had set a listing appointment to talk to this guy. And on the break, I called him up and I sent over the stuff, and he listed his property with me. It was very serendipitous. That's not likely
Mm.
the case every call, but that's a really good example of why you should answer a ringing phone. That wasn't even my phone. It wasn't even my phone. So here's the idea. When the telemarketers
Yeah.
call, let's try to sell them something. If nothing else, practice your scripts. And like you said, wind them up a bit, give them a little bit of a hassle, and you can be bold. Because the thing that a lot of agents find difficult is that when they're prospecting, they get tongue tied, they feel nervous, they're placing all this emphasis on, I must win right now. I don't want to look silly. I don't want to make a fool of myself. With a telemarketer, all that goes out the window. It doesn't matter if you look silly or if you step on your own tongue, because who cares what this guy thinks? He's calling you trying to sell you something. So it's a real good way for you to practice and exercise. So before I give
Yeah.
you the
I think
script
it's
that I would go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's crazy to not pick up your phone if you don't know who it is. Because if you don't know who it is, it could be, it could be a listing, it could be a buyer, whatever it is. If you don't know, then you're just completely missing out on the chance to have another client. So yeah, it sounds crazy to me. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so a couple of things that we can do. The types of people that will call is this doesn't happen as much anymore, but in the past it was a lot of people trying to sell subscriptions to magazines or newspapers, and so you know you can try to sell them a house. Say, who do you know looking to buy or sell real estate? A lot of times they'll try to run right through on their script. You can interrupt them. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I'd love to talk to you about that. But first, a quick, very important question. Who do you know looking to buy or sell real estate? A lot of times they will either engage or they'll just hang up the phone on you and then take you off their list. And then they won't call back anymore. But with those types of subscriptions to newspapers and magazines, you can tell them that, this is really embarrassing, but I never learned how to read. I don't even know how to read. I dropped out of school in the second grade, and I've just been working plowing fields ever since, or I've been turning a wrench. I told a guy one time that I was blind, so I can't read it. Does it come in Braille? And this guy was such a good salesman that he said, well, I tell you what, do you have a neighbor? Maybe you could get the subscription of the newspaper and then go take it to the neighbor and have them read it to you. I thought that was rather
That's really
clever.
good.
These days,
Yeah.
a lot of
The
people
good salespeople find a way around the objections.
yes,
Instead of looking for the problem, they'll look for the solution.
That's exactly right. And so this is kind of like playing jazz music with a bunch of other musicians that you don't exactly know what they're going to play, but you have to learn to harmonize with what's coming. And so that's why this is a really great way of improvising and practicing your scripts at the same time, just being in the moment, just saying what comes to mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the improv comedy guys, right? They do this yes and is what they call it. So you don't ever reject something. You just say yes and then add to it and put your spin on it, whatever's next.
I like that analogy, the jazz one, of just harmonizing with whatever comes your way. That's really good.
Whatever comes your way, catch it, throw it back. Health insurance. A lot of, especially real estate agents, we get a lot of calls, people trying to sell us health insurance. You can say, because it's an industry that is without health insurance by and large, because you're an independent contractor, so you have to fend for yourself there. I like to tell them that I already have insurance. I don't need insurance because I have a witch doctor. I tell them I take a smoke bath every day, and plus I have all the right crystals, and I bark at the moon when it comes in full. Things like this where you don't give all those scripts one after another. You just kind of make it up as they give their rebuttal. Then you give it back to them a little more, and then try to sell them a property or ask them, who do you know looking to buy or sell? I'm selling houses today, so how many can I put you down for? Another one that a lot.
I guess it's a good way to it's a good way to learn other people's sales techniques as well and learn from their objection handling.
Yeah.
I think most of them aren't great, but there are some good ones as well, definitely.
That's right. Yeah, it's like I've always said, the telemarketers are calling you, they're reading a script. The ones that don't sound like they're reading are reading. They're just really good at reading the script. They're just well rehearsed.
Yeah.
Another big one that agents get calls from, and it annoys them, they hate it to high heaven, is recruiting brokers. Brokers will call and say, I'm trying to recruit you to come to my brokerage. Well, a lot of agents are insulted by this and they'll get upset. How do I know? Because I used to be one of those recruiting brokers and I used to make a lot of these phone calls. And for some reason, the lion's share of those that pick up the phone, they're pissed off that you even have the audacity to acknowledge that they do well at sales and you'd like to have them on your team. There's no reason for this. I think you should talk to those recruiting brokers, learn what your options are out there. This doesn't mean that you're going to change brokers. You can still breast your cards. But at the same time, ask him, who does he know? If you want me to come and work at your brokerage, give me a lead. You're sending the leads you've got to somebody at your agency. Why don't you start sending some to me? Who do you know looking to buy or sell? It's a great way to change the conversation a little bit. And one last one, because this struck me as quite humorous. A couple of years ago, I was actually driving and got a telemarketer call, and I answered, and it was a guy trying to sell me boner pills. And so he's trying to ask me, how does my girlfriend or my lover, how does my wife like the way that I do this? Do I ever have this problem? And I tell him, I say, the only thing that I have hard time getting up is the nerve to ask people a question. And he said, what? I said, that's right. I have a hard time getting up the nerve to ask And that's why I want to ask you, who do you know looking to buy or sell real estate? He says, excuse me? And I said, well, don't give me a hard time here, buddy, but who do you know looking to buy or sell? And I was using all these silly boner puns and things. And that dude ended up hanging up on me, but he held with it for a good couple of minutes. But he hung up, and I never got another call from a boner guy before. So, or ever since. So anyway, the idea is that you're going to get telemarketer calls. Answer it. Talk to them. Practice your scripts.
Yeah.
Practice your improvising. Practice not, it's basically no risk practicing of your scripts and prospecting. He's calling on you.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You never know who's going to be on the other end of that call. Our caller ID these days, mine at least, it will actually say potential spam when the call is coming in. I answer it anyway. Just find out. Even if it's a robot, sometimes you hear it sounds like a robot. That's actually a person that doesn't speak English very well, or they have a thick accent and they're typing. And then the computer is translating what they say into a robot voice. You can still do the same thing with those. There's just a slight delay in the response. But you can say, hold on a second, excuse me, I have a question. And then they'll stop. And then you can say your question. Anyway, it's more fun than just, muting your phone and letting it go to voicemail. That's boring.
Yeah, I think being curious is definitely a trait that the best people I speak to definitely have.
Mm-hmm.
And just being open-minded as well.
You never know where your next opportunity is going to come from.
Yeah, 100%. Should we wrap up there?
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a fun one. If you found value in this conversation that Pritesh and I just had about telemarketers and why you should talk to them, then share this video with a friend. Give it that old thumbs up. Maybe if you can give 2 thumbs up, that would be cool. Or watch another video. We'll be here to make another one. Till next time, see ya.
See ya.